Howdy, y'all. This is going to be kind of an announcement. Well, getting ready to start a new series. It's going to be basically like a defense for the Apostle Paul. Now, a lot of people say a lot of different things about Paul, that he tried to change Jesus's words, and he tried to bring about a new gospel and tried to discount all of the Old Testament and all that stuff. I mean, I don't believe any of that. And when you actually study the epistles of Paul and what he taught, he's kind of saying the same things as Jesus did. Now, if we look at some of Paul's writings and look at it and come up with our own doctrine that says that this contradicts Jesus or the Old Testament, we have to stop. As the people reading it, we have to stop and figure out why we think there is a contradiction in what he's saying versus what Jesus said versus what even Isaiah said. Because there's a lot of different things that Paul has wrote that comes directly out of the Old Testament. See, like the armor of God actually can be found the book of Isaiah. But yeah, the armor of God can be found in the Old Testament. When I was doing the research on it, I mean, this has been months ago, that a lot of it came from Isaiah. That kind of blew my mind a little bit, just to know where it came from. Because most of the sermons I've heard about that always like describe Paul being in prison, looking up and down on this Roman soldier, and then like getting each of his pieces of armor and all that stuff, and then coming up with this analogy and all that stuff. I mean, I'm sure sitting there looking at this Roman soldier and all of them pieces, all the imagery from the Old Testament came to his mind. And then that's when he wrote that stuff down, or that's when it came to him. But it still came from the Old Testament. Paul was a Pharisee. He was very well educated. He knew what the Old Testament scriptures was. He thought he knew God. Then on the road to Damascus, he really met God, and he really heard from God, and then was called by God. Then he realized everything that he has done up to this point has been nothing but foolishness. Now, through Jesus Christ, his fulfillment is ready to come. Now, one of the things that always like came up with Paul, most of his letters were wrote. He was executed AD 68 or something like that. The Gospels were wrote right around this time. So, I mean, most of his writings came like during like the 40s, 50s-ish, 60s-ish time frame. And then the Gospels were wrote just a little bit after that. So if there was a problem with Paul and he was going out and spreading heresy, the apostles would have said something.